Let's get some reaction to what Luke said there. Interesting, had a dig at Peter Dutton and yourself about the prospect of a fight up there, politically speaking, when it comes to law and order.
Well, look, I think Anthony Albanese has failed the Northern Territory, and this has probably played into that. I mean, there's been $250 million invested into Central Australia to deal with the crime issue, which is, we don't know what's happened with that. We don't know where it's supposed to have gone. You know, he's come to Garma and he's talked a big talk, but he's got this green obsession. He's been anti-mining, anti-development, and Territorians want their economy to flourish. They want development, they want mining, but the way that the Prime Minister is talking is not favourable for Territorians, and they can see through much of the nonsense. But you know, the fact that he closed down, he decided that the uranium mine was not going to go ahead, and that prosperity for Indigenous Australians is just going to be through renewables, Territorians can see right through that kind of talk.
Now, I just want to make a point here about Middle Arm. Of course, it has worked for the Greens. If you look at that number on your screen there, it's been put to me in the early voting, they are strong in Breitling and Fanny Bay, and it's because of that issue. So Kieran is asking these Labor members if it's frustrating. Boy, it is, because it could cost them Fanny Bay. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that there's such a divergence of opinion on that, and the Greens putting out that Senate report, going on the way they have in relation to that project, have gained ground. That's being put to me tonight. That is the reason they've gained ground and are in with a chance in Fanny Bay.
It's an issue for those on the left of politics, isn't it? Because it's the Greens, but also some in your party, Nicole, who seem to forget that net zero has the word net in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I come back to what I said before. We don't go about new development without checks and balances in the system. And if these people are deluded enough to think that you don't need carbon capture and storage, and that gas isn't the appropriate fuel to help the energy transition so we can get to a 100% renewable future one day, they're mad. They're absolutely mad. They pick and choose what's good and what's bad. If we're going to get to a net zero future, you need all these things in the mix. And this is why Middle Arm is such a fantastic development, not just for the Northern Territory, but for this country and our trade partners, because climate change doesn't stop at our borders. It is a global issue. And, if we're going to tackle it, we need things like a CCS hub at Middle Arm. We need the Tamboran gas plant at Middle Arm. We need the critical minerals processing at Middle Arm. It is just such a fantastic project. And when I see the Greens making political play at that, it just makes me scratch my head, because it is ridiculous. It is
what
part
about
of the solution.
What about voters going for it? Does that make you scratch your head?
I'm seeing tonight a significant swing towards the CLP, and I think they've been very clear about their views on Middle Arm. So I'd still argue that where Breitling we're seeing a swing to the CLP, and Jacinta would agree with me, is by far the most greenest left-leaning part of the Alice Springs electorate, by far. So I'm really actually not that surprised by what I'm seeing in Breitling. I am surprised by what I'm seeing in Fanny Bay. Very surprised.